Well, probably rat boys are squares.
By the shit.
In other news,
You know it's gonna crash. Canceling all ships is extremely dangerous.
We're Bitcoin.
Bitches in the future?
This is Wheel of Fortune, y'all!
Bitcoin is the future.
Cultish fucking psychopaths, fake but they recycle that. Flood us with these lies, we ignore it, then we cycle back. To this anchor, we are called a time chain, our minds break. In this rabbit hole so deep, we wired up our time frame. We just call it time preference, started with divine presence. Immaculate conception, shit posting is profession. Dunking on central bankers, modern day money changes. Throw 'em out the temple, got no use for they paper.
Got no use for they paper.
Paper.
Got no use for they paper. For they paper.
Modern day money changes.
Money changes. Money.
Welcome to the Defend the Network podcast. I am Eastside Tony. I'm here with my co-producer, Real Richard. And today,
What up?
we have Texas Slim at Modern T-Man on Twitter. Slim, good morning, man. Thanks for joining.
Good morning, guys. How are you doing? It's early there out where you are, isn't it?
Yeah, war came to town last night, so we went out last night. I went out last night.
Did you?
Dude, it's war, man. It's
right.
It's pretty epic, man.
Was it?
How's your Saturday morning going, Richard?
It's going well. It's nice out here at this park. I had to go to a quiet park because I thought we were going to do this later. But yeah, I'm excited to be here with you guys.
So, Slim, can you tell us a little bit about the Beef Initiative and what you're trying to do here with the?
Yeah, the Beef Initiative. I'll try to make it as it's it's a broad question. I try to give targeted answers. Basically, right now, what I say, the Beef Initiative basically is one of the strongest stances you can find in freaking integrity right now in the United States. And what it is, it's basically a portal into a rabbit hole of food intelligence, and we've lost that as a nation. And, we're having to take the responsibility especially as Bitcoiners and as ranchers and as producers to basically redefine what food is and what food intelligence really is, because we're going through so much propaganda. We all know about 1971 and what's happened since then. And so, I've been doing this for about 3 years, and it did start with just food intelligence and then evolved into the Beef Initiative, where what we're doing is decentralizing our food supply in a way that we used to have it as a nation and as communities and, localities across the United States. We didn't outsource our food from 2,000, 10,000 miles away. We outsourced it 2 blocks away. And so, everybody's always tried to get to, how do we build community with food? Well, Beef Initiative is having a lot of success with that. And one reason is a decentralized mindset that comes from Bitcoin.
All right. When you go to talk to ranchers, like what kind of food, like what kind of processes do they have to have for them to join the Beef Initiative? What do you look for?
Well, I mean, like I said before, people have really lost the what food really is, right? And so whenever you basically develop a relationship with an animal producer, farmer, rancher, what you're doing is you're getting to the source of the seed of what food really is. And so whenever you go out there and you develop a relationship, Beef Initiative is about relationship building. And it's about peer-to-peer transactional communication, peer-to-peer transactional relationship, peer-to-peer transactional, monetary value exchange. It's a value for value exchange is what it is. And whenever you can go and you can shake a rancher's hand and he wants to tell you why he does what he does, and you find out where he came from and who he is and, who his grandparents were, what his ancestry is, you tend to find out that you don't have to really discuss much more than that, because you're going to find out what his protocol is as far as stewarding the land and stewarding that animal. And if you can get that conversation going and that relationship built on that type of communication, that's basically all you need to know, because somebody that's going to talk to you about why they do what they do is because they're an educator. And most regenerative farming practices, and that's what we base our protocol on, is a broad regenerative movement that is going across this nation. It's nothing new. It's how we got here. And so really it's, we get stuck in a lot of analysis paralysis in this country. And, the globalist and the industrial food complex is trying to make us digitize our food in a certain way. And people are saying, well, how do I know that cow is, not factory farmed? And how do I know this? And how do I know that? Well, you're never going to know, but they're going to try to make a perception to you and the people's brains that, hey, if we digitize this land and we digitize this cow and you can tell where it came from, the ranch and the farm, all that is a new capture that they're introducing into the food supply and to the agricultural industry in the United States of America, and of course across the world. It's part of this ESG shit that's going on. So I always just tell people, the Beef Initiative is that relationship. If you can't personally go out there and establish that relationship with rancher, you can funnel into the Beef Initiative and you're going to meet somebody through a digital space that we have to leverage. And if you can do it in person, then you're going to go out there and do it in person. And then you can report back to the Beef Initiative and we'll look at everybody. And that's how we've holistically grown so far. And we're having a lot of success with that, because you find out that the Bitcoiners and the plebs and the ranchers themselves, there's a accountability there. And if you're not coming with transparency and honesty and truth, you're going to get your ass called out. So, I think that's the best way. It's built on the Bitcoin ethos. Your food should be the same way.
That's great. Yeah.
Slim.
Go ahead. Rick.
I was going to say, I was inspired by you. So I'm picking up a half cattle end of the month. And how, Tony, you were talking about how do you know the protocols? You talk to these people, these ranchers, and they'll just go out, they'll explain it like, this is how we raise them. And then we dry age it for 3 weeks. They cut it. And then they just went through the whole process. And I think you said earlier, paralysis by analysis. It took me a long time, but after hearing you a couple of times, me and my brother, we just said, fuck it, let's just do it. And then we just talk to them. And it was like a very, very simple process. All you got to do is say, I'm interested. And then they, like you said, they're educators and they just started talking.
Man, I love that, Richard, because right there, you see it. It's so simple that it's complex to most people, right? And that's where we've gotten in, and this is not a stab against anybody because we're all here. It's not a judgment. But what I find when people ask that question is like, well, how do you know that's good food? And it's like, well, it's coming from a person that doesn't know a damn thing about what they're consuming in the first place. They're going to Whole Foods and think that they're eating good food, or they're going through Butcher Box and they think they're getting good beef. It's like, well, the intentions are there, right? But we've gone so far off the freaking reservation with logic and basically really understanding that food is not science, food is biology. And if we can really start discovering that out as the individual, then we can kind of spread that message out. And that's exactly what Richard just said he did. And so that's important for everybody to hear that.
When when the lockdowns happened, they came down pretty hard here in the Bay Area. And my first thought was like, where do I get the chicken plug? You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, where do I get the meat plug? And I reached out to my friend David back then. And, this is a guy that I just, knew. And he moved away from the city and he started this little ranching outfit, Triple C Ranch, about 70 miles south of the Bay Area. And I recently reached out to him a couple weeks ago. I think I tagged you in the post. It's like, hey, you still got cattle, right? You still got all this stuff. He's like, yeah. I was like, you ever thought about selling it for Bitcoin? He was like, well, I never thought about it. So let's say I get him on board. How do I onboard him? I know you guys been using Oshi app, I think. Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, we've got a full technology stack. we've been, I think and this is said with humility, but we've now sold probably close to $200,000 worth of beef through Bitcoin technology stack. And we're not bragging about it, but that's basically where we are as far as the Beef Initiative. So building out that technology stack, you have our code that we've built within the platform itself. And then we partnered up with Oshi from the very beginning. And we're also partnered up with IBEX. And IBEX is basically coming hard, and what you have to do is if you want to get onboarded, all you have to do is reach out to me and it's like, boom, we'll get you a white glove approach and we'll get you onboarded. Michael with Oshi, Annalise and Rye from IBEX, man, they'll call you within 15 minutes And that's all you got to do. I mean, it's streamlined right now. It's not complicated. We've taken out a lot of the friction about, transacting in Bitcoin. And like I say, we have proof of work. We utilize the Lightning Network, of course. And so, you can do non-KYC, you can do KYC. It's up to you, and it's up to the rancher too. So, the options are there. The education is there. I did a partnership with Foundation Devices, and we did something called Bitcoin for Ranchers. And so we have a webinar series out there on our YouTube channel that you can turn any rancher or animal producer onto, and they can kind of go through it and kind of understand the why of Bitcoin, the how and the what, and how to move forward. And it's only 4 episodes. They're not long, about 45 minutes, but they're very detailed. Q&A with Foundation, man. He's a sharp guy. And he markets by Lily. I mean, she's intelligent. So they really helped us out on that educational series. So we kind of have a portfolio and a package that we can now just streamline and give to everybody.
Yeah, that sounds awesome, man. That sounds like something I didn't know about. So
yeah, we've been kind of quiet. I tell everybody the Beef Initiative is not a freaking marketing plan here. So we find, everybody finds out whenever they need to find out. And that way we're not overscaling. We're not, blowing it up. We're not LARPing here. This is about really being intentional about who we connect with and who we help educate and who educates us as well.
Hey, Slim, I know you said you're not a marketing team, but when you said shake a rancher's hand, me and my brother and I, we've been a big fan of that phrase, and that's almost become a meme, shake a rancher's hand. And so I've seen that go around a lot. And
I
so,
heard that yesterday.
marketing.
Yeah. I heard that yesterday. I did a podcast and they said, man, you need to trademark that shit. And I was like, I might have to. So, but it's good. I think the one that, one guy I got to call out is Marty Bent, man. He caught that very early, like last year. And he goes, man, that's a great phrase. So it's cool that people are responding, and it's good whenever you see somebody say that you don't know and they're using it, because it means that we're all doing something, and we're moving forward. So.
Awesome. So what's cooking for you, man? What's new for you with the Beef Initiative?
Man, we've got a lot going on, and we've got a team now that's been with us, for a while. It's a small, powerful team, and we've already done 2 conferences, and we're going to do our 3rd conference September 16th through 18th at Bluffton, Georgia, at White Oak Pastures. And you want to talk about proof of work of Regenerative, that's Will Harris and his family, 160-year-old ranch, man, farm and ranch that they basically have had since the 1800s. They went the commodity cowboy route, and now they're basically leading the way with their regenerative farming and ranching. So we're having a 3-day conference out there. You can go to the beefinitiative.com website and get your tickets. We're doing everything that we can to get. We only sell like 100 tickets to these conferences. It's not a big old blow up type of thing. This is about being very intentional. And whenever you leave these things, there's a call to action. You're learning, man. It's full on interactive. We onboarded like over 53 Bitcoiners and ranchers in Colorado within 14 minutes. Matt Odell he was there. He did a workshop, and we're showing people how to do this. We're not sitting here doing PowerPoint presentations. And so with this conference, it's, we're doing 4 different farm and ranch tours, and they're being led by Will Harris himself. And so you get to go out there and see how to do this, see how to get started. We're having homesteading, we're having homeschooling, we're having a heritage woman, we're having mining, we're having econo-alchemists talk about privacy. So we hit the whole spectrum of what's going on. And I just tell everybody it's a freaking international lifestyle that you're going to join into. And because we are getting a lot of attention, across the world, because this is scalable. It started in Texas, and over Rod and Matt and Mills over at Bitcoin Park in Nashville, they've got the phrase, we're going to build out locally and broadcast globally. And so we've got a headquarters in Tennessee and Nashville. We're planning big things there in 2023. We've got a headquarters in Colorado now. We've got 2 headquarters in Texas. I'm putting on these micro food summits and heritage summits here in the Texas Panhandle in October. And then we already have 2 conferences planned in Australia, late January, early February next year. Those are a go. We confirmed that this morning. So I'm flying out to Australia, in January of next year. And then, beyond that, we're just moving forward with as much education. We're opening up a processing center down South Central Texas, south of Austin. And so that'll be the third or second one that we've got online that is a decentralized processing center. We don't have to ask permission. We've done the vertical integration all the way from the soil all the way to your fork. And so our production as far as selling beef online through the Beef Initiative is about to, scale tenfold. We're already shipping across the United States right now, and tons of people are starting to understand that, sourcing your beef either with fiat or Bitcoin is probably one of the biggest power moves that you can do right now. And as we scale, we're getting more producers coming into the Beef Initiative. And so I'm going out and talking to ranchers. We're going to start a subscription model to where if you want something every month, man, sign up and you're going to get your beef supply every month. So, just everything that we've already done is about to, multiply by tenfold. And, the team is growing. I've got Texas Slim Media now, and it's all a bunch of plebs that are getting together, that they're working and streaming and working for Sats. And we're all doing this together. It's a collective. And we're putting out an audio docu-series. And then, of course, we're working with another media company called Do.Kist Media. And they're filming our conferences, and then we're going to basically turn those into, workshops that we can let people see after the conferences. And then we're going to probably do a documentary and get people involved in this and turn this into a global movement so everybody can get on. I think it's the best way to, get Bitcoin adoption moving forward is through pure, clean food and relationships with those people that are producing and being attacked by the powers that be right now.
Yeah, I'm interested in this decentralized processing plant. Like, is that something that can only be done? Can you tell us a little bit more about that? Is that something that can only be done in Texas, or can
No,
we make one in California?
Yeah, that's a great question. And, that's kind of right now, it's the big unknown to a lot of people. It's like, hey, can my state be a part of this? And Texas kind of leads the way with that, and which is cool because if we establish in Texas, one thing that I didn't say before because there's so much going on, we now have the Beef Initiative Association Council. And what that is, it's a group of ranchers and processors that I've been building a team with for the last basically 2 years. And now we're going to be consulting on micro processing centers in the state of Texas. So we've got I think we got about 5 to 6 people lined up, ready to start moving forward with that advising and consulting. So whenever we get that established in Texas, we're going to look at other states across the United States because we're looking at the Texas certification and the USDA certification. There's 2 different certifications, but the thing about it is in any state, if you move forward with the USDA certification, then everything that we're consulting on will carry over to those states, and we can look at certain states' rules and regulations that we have to tweak. So we've got a law firm that's helping us. We've got a legal team. We've got the Farm and Ranch Freedom Alliance in Texas. We have some politicians. We have some lobbyists. We're creating a movement within the processing centers, basically build out in Texas. What people don't understand is that is the true bottleneck of us getting food to our tables. And it's controlled by 4 major global corporations. And what this is advising and counseling and doing these microprocessors across Texas. We're going to scale it across the nation, and we're going to hit it as hard as we can. And so I'm going to look at different states and saying, yeah, that's a good state to do this. You look at states like maybe Tennessee, Wyoming, possibly California, but California is tough. We know that. But what we can do is we can circumvent around it because we do have USDA precedents. And so if they try to limit us, we're going to say, wait, we've got a legal team here and we've got proof of work. What are you telling us we're not doing wrong? Therefore, they have to expose themselves. Once they expose themselves, we can go, okay, we got that fixed. Now what?
Very insidious, very insidious. Can you explain to the audience a little bit more about what the USDA stamp of approval means? And honestly. Rig that, you know what I mean?
Well, it is a bottleneck for basically everything that we want to be as pure and clean in the United States of America. It probably started out as something that was very productive. It was very intentional about helping Americans have good, clean food. You know, during the Great Depression and the Dust Bowl, they encouraged everybody to raise chickens, you know, say, hey, go out there and get your chickens. Now they're the ones that tell you if you raise chickens, you know, you're going to get arrested. You know, it's such a, I believe the USDA, and I'll say this boldly, is one of the most probably biggest apparatuses right now that is causing the ill health of America because of the deception and everything that they still stand by. As far as you can look at milk, you can look at protein, anything you want to look, they are in cahoots with the FDA, and the FDA and the USDA are basically conglomerates that are not helping the health of a nation. They're deteriorating the health of children. And they're complicit in it, and they hide behind a lot of corruption and a lot of masks.
Well, that's exciting that you're doing the processing center because, you know, like when you started the Shake a Rancher's Hand, now that's kind of blown up. Now you're going out doing conferences in Australia.
Mm-hmm.
So you're starting with this microprocessing plant in Texas. Hopefully, with what this is like, you know, you always say the source of the seed. This will be the source of the seed where we start to decentralize these processing plants. And it starts with some plants in Texas. Hopefully we expand and we just keep going. And eventually, yeah, I'm just really excited to see this beef initiative, like your vision, just flourishing and promoting and sprouting from there.
Well, I truly believe in the beginning, I kind of had an idea that this is kind of the source of the seed of the solution was to start with these community-based food programs. Okay. Well, everybody is always like, yeah, buy local. Well, local doesn't matter unless you control the processing. And so you look at the state of Texas, you have over 200 processing abattoirs and facilities that basically are mothballed at this time. And so you look at that, how it played out. We used to do this as a community and as a nation. You go to small town Texas, you look at that building over there. Well, that was the processing center. That processing center, basically what it did is it sold to the butcher, it sold to the grocery store, and it actually had a food shed. It had something like Hometown Meats. You know, that's what Cole Bolton is doing in down south in that processing center down south of Austin with K&C Cattle. You go to the meat store, you can pick your meat. And so if you look at over 200 processing centers being mothballed in the state of Texas, we're not creating anything new, man. It's just something that got squeezed out by these globalists. And basically, if you look at the globalists who had done this and the corruption behind it, well, we start doing these micro processing centers in every county in the state of Texas, and they try to come after us, man. We're like a hornet's nest, as they like to say. And that scales out. And you can do it in Australia right now. And that's why Australia is going to be cool. You can do it in certain countries that we're going to say, hey, we're in Zimbabwe. We're building out a processing center in Zimbabwe. What are you going to do about that? So, you know, what we do, a lot of right now, you see in the media, you see all these people saying, hey, look at this producer-led processing center that costs $600 million. It's not the answer, man. All it is a target. Whenever you do micro-processing centers that feed the communities in which they stand, then you're on to something. And then that's how we build out. We multiply. Game theory.
Yeah, this really reminds me, like, this is what they do in Mexico, in my parents' hometown still. You know,
oh, really? That's perfect.
Small little town. And, you know, there's a butcher shop, you know, there's a baker shop.
Mm-hmm.
And definitely, I think we need to go back to like community building, and that's something we're doing here. That's how I met Richard. We do the Bitcoin meetups here,
right?
And we want to build these communities out, and that's why I think it's very important to get this message out.
Yeah,
to people that don't understand anything about food intelligence, and they're thinking like, "Wow, look at this Beyond Meat thing." It's like, no, that's trash. You don't eat that stuff, man.
It's a travesty. I'll just put it that way. But, you know, and that's one thing I want to bring up, especially to the plebs out here. All right, plebs, they're not going to expect that you eat that damn 3D printed steak or that stem cell steak or that stupid Beyond Meat burger or piece of sausage that looks like a flaccid, you know what. What they're going to do is that's the distraction. What they're doing is they're engineering basically stuff like cricket dust. They're engineering a new fake commodity that they're going to inject into all those pizza pockets and chicken tendies that you're still eating. So you won't even know that you're eating bugs, and they'll be able to hide it with the FDA and the USDA. And I'll tell you why, because in October 2021, the FDA won a lawsuit that the FDA defended themselves on so they could put 2,000 new chemicals into your food supply in this year alone. Okay, so those chemicals are now being injected into all the food that is approved by the FDA and the USDA, and it's called the G.R.A.S rule, G.R.A.S, generally recognized as safe. So you say, well, I'm not going to eat bugs. Yes, you are. You damn right you are, and you won't even know that you're eating them. So whenever they take the meat out of our diets and out of our food supply, they're injecting new fake protein additives in their bug protein, their pea protein, their soy protein, and every one of those I just mentioned are pretty toxic and they're not healthy. And basically they are killing our nation.
It just hit to me too that you know where they're going to inject this first is it's public schools. They're going to put this in.
Oh hell yeah, they already do.
Wow.
You look at the recovery, whatever that bill was that they did this past year. They're taking over their public school food supply systems, and they're going to be. Whenever I was a child in Texas, they started introducing soy way back then into our burgers, and so now this is the same stuff. They've already done it. We already do it because our consumer demand doesn't give a shit because we say it tastes good, and so they leverage that against us, and the kids are helpless on this stuff, and they will be eating bugs. And the marketing plan is already out there. You see it on Twitter all day long, and they're marketing to children right now. This is how you eat crickets. Here's how you brush your teeth. Well, this is how you eat crickets. And so they're moving forward, and they have unlimited cash, man. They have unlimited debt economy, bullshit fiat means of doing this. So the only way that we change this is we change our consumer demand, and that starts with the individual.
Yeah, I think I heard that. I think it was on the Adam Curry podcast where like, they were teaching those kids how to brush their teeth.
Yeah.
And then somehow just slipped in, oh, well, this is a cricket you can eat or something. Like, what? Yep. What are you talking about? It's out of the world, man. It's crazy. I have an 8-year-old daughter, and like she comes home, she's like, hey, what about the environment, Dad? And I was like, oh, I like taking care of the environment for sure. But it's funny. It's like, well, where'd you get this? She's like, oh, my teacher was talking about it. I'm sure the teacher's well-intended or whatever, right? But it's like, it's scary that, but like you said, yeah, the food helps the child's brain develop. And people just don't even think about that, like food is what made us evolve into the people, like humans that we are today. A lot of that,
we talk about stacking sats, but like, what is your sats if you're not healthy? You can't eat sats. So
no,
so it's more than just stacking sats.
It really is, and that's what I tell everybody. Is like, how do you orange peel a rancher? Well, you don't go out there and ask a rancher to freaking buy Bitcoin. What you do is you make the rancher, or you allow the rancher to earn that Bitcoin, and you exchange value for value. If you're gonna hodl, I hodl. That's what I do. I mean, 100% hodl. But one thing that I will do is exchange beef for Bitcoin and Bitcoin for beef. It is the smartest power move that you can do right now. It's the smartest power move for adoption. It's the smartest power move for your health, for your children's health. Right now, we are overfed and nutritionally starved as a nation, and we have the proof. This is not just me up here grandstanding. The proof is in there, and we have brain fog. I mean, you got kids coming into doctors' offices right now, and they should be having young boys having, they should have 1,200 on their testosterone levels. They're coming into doctors' offices with testosterone counts of 200. That is an epidemic at proportions that we've never seen in humanity. And it's happening, and people are not paying attention to it. And if you really want to be a good parent, I'm a parent, man. I make sure my kid does not eat fiat food anymore. And of course, it's going to happen. We're not, this is not an extreme thing. We know there's a lot of gray area here, but if you can get that food intelligence and something like that they're doing with kids is saying, well, the cow is a carbon hazard, and they're putting that in the cow is basically the biggest land tool that we can have to regrow the soil. And, this carbon issue is not a carbon issue, but they're basically, once again, there's another marketing plan and they're hitting the educational systems with them. So it's up to us as Bitcoiners to get to the source of the seed of the freaking issues here and the source of the seed of solution. And if we want to change the world, it starts with food and Bitcoin.
Do you think what's happening in Europe with the soil out there, what is it, the nitrogen in the soil, you think that's going to come to America?
It already has, man. It's already here. They're just doing an asset reallocation in so many different ways. Of course, Bill Gates is now the number one farmland owner in the United States. Well, guess who's right behind him? China just bought over 200,000 acres of our farmland during COVID. Nobody knows that. That's the same thing they're doing in the Netherlands. Nitrogen is not the issue. The reason they're attacking the Netherlands, in the Netherlands, I'm sad to say that land is already gone. It will be sold. It will be sold, and they already have plans for it. It's called the Tri-State. And you look up at the Tri-State, what they're building in the Netherlands, in that area. There, you watch what happens this winter with migration. There's something going on a global scale, and it's a global industrial food shift. And what they're doing is they're going to take the animal and the soil out of our food supplies, and they're going to make you eat even worse shit food. It's happening.
That's one thing I'm grateful about America. We're pretty decentralized. So hopefully what you're doing in Texas, building out these processing centers, just keeps growing. And then other people in other states just adopt it, because what you're talking about, what you're talking about in the Netherlands, I think a couple of weeks ago, I saw the same thing starting to happen in Canada.
Of course.
And so these things are going to keep on going. But the decentralization of cattle production, microprocessing plants, and Bitcoin. So when you say exchanging value for value with your rancher, you're making him more resilient because he has money that can't be fucked with as well. And if you want a good food source, that's really, really value for value. And so I'm just really excited.
Yeah, it really is. And you talk about building out these nodes. I just got off a call with Scott with Sacred Farms out in Colorado. I mean, we've got a new node. I mean, we're moving forward. I mean, we've got clean processing center in Colorado now. Jason Rick of Rick Ranchers, he's got a clean processing center. The nodes are there, man, and they're starting to multiply. This is going to catch steam. And, it's a lot of hard work. We're all doing this together, man. The Bitcoin community has been fantastic, man. Everybody's kind of catching on, and everybody wants to have, they want to innovate, they want to build, and they want to create. And I think this is a great way to do it, because I tell everybody, the Bitcoin or the Beef Initiative is basically a collective trade group. We're all in this together. We're open sourced. We're crowdsourced. We're even crowdfunded, man. We don't make any money. I mean, we make very little money. We don't make money off of beef right now. That's not our intentions. What we're trying to do is build so we can get an infrastructure, a decentralized infrastructure that everybody can use across the world.
That's awesome. So we're coming up on 3 minutes.
Yeah, I saw the ticker.
Let's start wrapping this stuff up. Richard, do you got any other questions you want to ask Slim?
No, he covered pretty much a lot of things, and we did cover some dark things, talking about like these globalists and how they're going to affect the kids. But I'm just, even regardless of that, I'm still very positive, seeing what, like you said, Slim, all this node building we're doing all around the world. And I think that's going to proliferate more so than the coercion that these globalists have for us. So I'm really positive about it.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I was going to say what you're working on. That's very important. I just want to thank you, man.
Hey, I appreciate you guys, man. It's conversations, and it's times like these is how we innovate during during times of mass prohibition. Is times you mass innovate, and so you counterpunch through whatever they're trying to do, because they expose themselves every day. So we look at how they expose themselves. we kind of get together and we build and we create and we basically circumvent. We don't have to participate anymore, and we don't have to ask for permission as much as people think that we have to ask for permission. And it starts with a strong, sovereign, individual mindset that is decentralized, man. It's about sound money, sound health, sound communications, and sound future. So let's all do it together, man.
Sweet. Well, thank you for coming on the show, man. Can you just tell us once more where we can find all the info here?
The best place to go is beefinitiative.com for sure. And then, of course, my Substack is texasslim.substack.com. It's got tons of food intelligence in there. And then I'm at Modern Tea Man on Twitter, Texas Slim.
Sweet. So this has been another episode of the Defend the Network podcast. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Time, talent, and treasure. Please send us some sats over Value for Value podcasting apps like Fountain. And thanks again, Slim.
Hey, I appreciate you guys, man. I really do. It's good to see you, man. We'll talk to you some more, right?
Yes, sir. Thank you for coming
Peace.
on.
You bet.
Bitcoin is the future.
Cultish fucking psychopaths, fake but they recycle that. Flood us with these lies, we ignore it, then we cycle back. To this anchor, we are called a time chain, a mind spray. In this rabbit hole so deep, we wired up our time frame. We just call it time preference, started with divine presence. Immaculate conception, shit posting is profession. Dunking on central bankers, modern day money changes. Throw 'em out the temple, got no use for they paper.
Got no use for they paper.
Paper.
Got no use for they paper.
Modern day money changes.
Money changes.